should you move to Washington? Ooh, this is a tough one. Okay, so I'm talking about Washington State, not Washington, D.C. In case you're like, oh, Rose, I clicked on the wrong video. Well, hey, man, what can I say? Okay, so this is a tough one. You know I love talking about this topic because I've considered moving all around the U.S. and trying to find my community. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Western Washington because Eastern Washington and Central Washington are different zones and they aren't my kebabs, so I don't know them as much. I would say, do you like being outdoors all the time, even when it's cold, rainy, or snowy? If you answer yes, Washington can be a great state for you. Are you groovy with a lot of open crime on the streets, drug use, nudity, and a lot of mental illness just being very in your face and being part of your community, and that's not going to change? And if you're cool with that and you're like, oh yeah, that's just part of life, is seeing people and ups and downs of living, then it's totally for you. If you want more of a cookie cutter, clean, suburban vibe, I would say a lot of areas in Western Washington are not for you. There are whole parts in my Western Washington area that I really try to avoid going as much as I can because I just find it depressing and scary, especially bringing small children around. So you really have to take that into consideration. It's a real fact. Do you want to have really like a big police presence? If you call the sheriff, do you want them to show up on time? Or are you pretty cool with being self-sufficient, dealing with situations yourself, and having your own security system so that people can't break in, can't steal stuff? If you're self-sufficient, you'll do really well in Western Washington. If you want the sheriff or the cops to show up, that doesn't happen a lot in a lot of Western Washington towns. There's just been a lot of, not even defunding, but just a lot of feelings of like, even if you get arrested, you get let back out. There's a lot of shoplifting here, a lot of break-ins to homes and vehicles. It's super common. Cops don't even come out and take a statement anymore. I mean, it's that common. Probably your window's gonna get broken at least once a year in your car. If you park it anywhere, without like direct eye view. So it really depends on what version of a Americana lifestyle you want. I would say Western Washington as a lifestyle choice is very outdoorsy and beautiful, but you definitely see the haves and the have-nots really clearly. Like there's a wide gap. It's a really high cost of living area. Jobs generally don't keep pace with the cost of living. So it's definitely a push to live comfortably and to live in areas where you want to. But it's beautiful. The homes are gorgeous. The yards are gorgeous. You get a short growing season for gardening, but then you get forests all around you. So what is the tone of the lifestyle? This has been my question when I've looked at moving places is, what is our day-to-day lifestyle want to be? And right now our family is experimenting with being a little bit more urban. And we've never done this as a family. So this is new to us and we're testing it out to see, are the benefits of living an urban lifestyle with kids more than the detractors of what that involves? And I haven't decided yet. We haven't been in our new town even a year. Yeah, it's not a year yet. Won't be a year until end of October. And we're kind of giving ourselves a year to experience the urban lifestyle and decide that maybe it's got a lot of benefits, especially for kids that maybe need a lot of services or extracurricular things, a lot of interaction. And we're kind of playing that by ear. So I will do a video update when we have lived in our urban setting for a full year, and I'll talk about that because I have to say it's a very different experience of Western Washington than if you live in the suburbs or if you live in the countryside. Very different vibes, very different group of people. I would say if you are a social justice warrior, I don't think that's a derogatory term, is it? I don't know. My sister uses it and she is as far left as you can go. Social justice warrior, if you are a communist, a socialist, you will adore Western Washington. Like, this is your vibe in the country. You will find nowhere that is a better fit. My socialist, queer, gender spectrum sibling is happy as a clam. They have found their home in the world is Western Washington because it just vibes with them. They love it. They don't even want to get out of their little urban settings because it's like pure bliss to them. So it really depends what is your, and I don't mean that in a political way, but what's your day-to-day lifestyle view? If you are planning to be a landlord, Western Washington probably isn't for you. It's a pretty cruddy place to be a landlord. It's very hard to be a landlord. There's a lot of expectations from tenants of having almost free housing that's super nice in areas that is like, normally $5,000 a month, and they're like, oh, why do I have to pay even below market rates? There's a lot of laws that make it really difficult, a lot of regulations and red tape. But if you're just going to live somewhere, or if you're going to rent, it's a great place for that. The rental market is really tight and competitive in a lot of Western Washington, but often it's way cheaper just to rent out here than it is to buy, and then you don't have to do any of the maintenance, you don't have to do the yard work. It's a sweet gig. So I have friends that just rent because it's such a better economic deal for them. So depending, what's your lifestyle? Do you want to buy a farm? Do you want to buy a house? Are you more condo living? Are you more big yard? It's all those vibes. So I think Washington can be an amazing place to move to. It's beautiful, it's lovely. It's where we call home, and we like a lot of things about it. There's a lot of things about Washington that we don't agree with and that don't fit our family vibe, and that I definitely have to parent extra to correct that influence that my kids get. But we love it because we have so much family here, and that's really invaluable to me as a mama, to make sure that my kids grow up around their uncles and aunts and their cousins and kind of have that community experience, because that's something that I always wanted growing up. And I think that I see the joy and the emotional stability that gives my kids. I think you can't put a geographic tag or a price tag or a emotional tag on it. It is so valuable to them. So do you have family out here, or would you be leaving your family? That's something to really think about if you're moving to Washington State. Feel free and comment down below. Would you move to Washington State this year? Would that be something to think about? You'd be like, ooh, autumn moving. Haul the kids, get them in, tuck them into school, get going, and have a new adventure and experience. Would you be brave? We did that last fall. We picked up sticks. We didn't move states, but we moved towns, and we went, you know what, we're going to go on an adventure. And it has been a blast for the most part of experiencing something totally different without having to go too crazy far. I love a good family adventure. I think that my kids are still stink-eyeing me about anything that's changed, but overall they're so much happier to be on an adventure and be exploring something. So, never be scared to try out Washington or any state in this country, because I feel like all the states are different and unique. I love the road trips I've taken over the last decade plus around the U.S. Just seeing all the differences and all the unique components of America. It's pretty cool. Alright, biscuits, I'm going to see you over on our Primal Self-Care on Patreon, where we are going to get back to our ancestral wisdom for inner and outer joy and happiness. See you on Patreon.